See, I don't do that every day.
Today's Thursday.
What if I just put like a black sheet in front of that so that I could, but I don't move these to my house. So,
Yeah, I guess
I
that'd be a
mean,
problem. You could go
yeah,
sit outside your house.
and it's like 20 degrees and I didn't bring a coat, so I'm
That's okay.
I'm just giving you options.
I could, but I don't.
You could go
That's true. But they don't think it's right. I can bring a wall. You live in the mall.
It's kind of a dangerous walk though.
Right across the street.
I saw that. I saw people, no, not that.
Sorry.
I was looking, I was like, oh, no, I saw someone run across the one street. And then, oh, I was like, oh, I know that guy. Yeah, that was stupid.
It's like, oh, that's Wolfie.
Yeah, exactly.
I started like riding my bikes and it's like, okay, wanna compare homework?
Oh, God.
I didn't get the wanna compare homework too?
Okay, let's just go 16.
No. Oh, yeah, actually, I was gonna compare with Mac, but yeah, she didn't.
Okay. I didn't do I got the proof very well.
I got you right.
Isn't it even everything?
Except, I think I put too many steps and it's kind of messy. Let's just do different.
69 Celsius.
No, but also
It was 2 pages.
Yeah, chapter
Yes.
10.
You didn't even do step one.
I did Ray art.
Is it Thursday?
Yes.
Yes, which is
I
why I
did
got
this
last
yesterday.
I had time, so.
So, I don't know how
Because we're in this deal because she laughs at
Good.
every single thing that I say. Everything. So she's not gonna laugh at what I'm saying today. Did you tell your mom about this? And she started laughing?
Does that mean you're not gonna smile today?
I can smile at anybody else, but I'm not laughing or smiling at anything Morgan says.
Oh, you can't smile?
Yeah, that was our
She thinks I'm like the funniest person in the world, and she said that I would be
She's
like a
really not that
comedian.
funny.
No, I'm really not, but she thinks I'm hilarious. Like, she laughs at every
That's
single thing
because
that I
you're so
say.
confident.
Wow.
What you say. Like,
Lulu is really
and like
like.
no shame. And so when you're gonna say something funny, you don't like. Yeah, some people are like really nervous when they're gonna like tell a joke or something, but you just like say it. And it
Yeah, if it's
makes it
stupid, I'm
funnier.
like,
It's
yeah,
still
you're
funny.
I agree with that one. I'm coming out early tomorrow. We can still decide because my mom has training. Does your mom have training?
I don't
The
know.
other person.
But I'll be here.
Okay, so, I mean, I'll tell you.
Just like explain like your train of thought.
In general, what I did was, first I said that AD Then I said that this DRC is 2 and B is 1. So,
Okay, you laugh at yourself.
Yes.
Okay, I agree with that one.
therefore,
I'll let you slide since
equals
I've
2,
only been here for like
means
20
1
minutes.
is converted to 2. Then I
Don't.
said X, B, F,
Yeah, I got you.
is 1 plus 2. So these
I
added together become
do, but I've got like questions on 5 questions. And
then
the last one assignment, I have questions on the 2 proofs. I got like the same answers for both proofs.
It looks about
And then
right
I just did
to me from here, but.
now I did these.
Yeah, do you guys have your
This
assignments?
angle are vertical. So this is the measurement.
Oh, do you guys say that they ran
I actually got the one that we do today.
Are congruent. Like so. And then now I just said this one is equal to this one is equal to this. So therefore, there can be
So then you could say Q or XC
for
bisect.
like what we did yesterday in class. Although I could have said that.
I don't know how to say, like it was the bisect without saying that it was perpendicular lines, but they didn't tell me it was perpendicular lines, so then I couldn't say that it was a right angle, so then I couldn't say it was bisector, and then I couldn't say it was vertical angles, and it made me so mad.
And okay, and then
I
also
feel like I'm the
one
only
thing
one
that
that
could
has
have
followed
tried a lot said that
I didn't give up a comment.
2 and this
I
is
believe you.
1.
Yeah.
Then
For these
you
two
could
that I
say
lectured from
bisects, but I
last time,
think that may
I
actually
got
be an
like given
important step.
theorem,
I'm
two
just
I didn't do that,
and
but
substitution principle.
Not as well, because I feel like I need the numbers or something. I'm not sure what they need.
Like for
I feel like
both.
Although I
it's
did
dramatic
prove them.
because
Everybody was telling me that it was only like
I guess I
a
did.
three-step
Yeah.
thing.
I
But I did
don't
not
so,
know
but yeah,
that.
basically,
I think he was just saying like
148, sorry.
and then.
I was about to say,
That's because
Does that make sense?
Oh,
That's a theorem, 213.
Yeah, the thing is, I know what to do, I just don't know what postulates theorems and what I would let's write down.
Thank you.
yeah, it's definitely.
Alright, what questions do you have on the chapter test page?
Can you please explain how you do number 13?
13, is that from the picture? Yes. If DRC is 148, then ERD is what? Okay, well you know. Okay, so here's BRC, right? So you're ultimately trying to figure out this angle, is that right?
Yeah.
ERD. Alright, well first we could find DRC. How could we find that angle? Sarah?
Because BRC and BRC
Right, they're supplementary angles, so you could do 180 minus, what is this? 148?
Yeah.
To get this angle. And then if you have this angle, what relationship is DRC to ERD? What? They're complementary, so you could do 90 minus whatever you get. Is that how you guys did it? Did anybody do that differently? No? Okay, other questions? Sarah?
17.
17. Angle 1 is complementary to angle 2. Who has that one?
What number is this?
Aaron?
For me, I got theorem 210.
It would not be theorem 210. Morgan?
Definition of perpendicular line.
I thought this was a theorem. It's theorem 2.7.
Yes!
Actually. Theorem 2.7 says if the exterior sides of two adjacent acute angles lie in perpendicular lines, then the angles are complementary. So that is theorem 2.7. Other questions? Kylie?
Number 19.
19. That one is one of those that Aaron was saying. If two angles are complementary to two congruent angles, they're congruent to each other. That's 210, I believe. Is that what you guys put?
I thought it was 2.9.
2.9.
I put 213.
If two angles are oh yes, it's the same angle, not congruent angles. You're right. 2.9. Yes. If two angles are complementary to the same angle, they're congruent to each other. Good. Aaron,
Could you do number 10?
is everybody good on that proof 16 through 20? Okay, 10. If ARD is whatever, DRC is whatever. Then. So ARD, what's the relationship between ARD and DRC? What's the relationship between those two angles? You know,
They're supplementary.
they're supplementary, so if I add those two expressions together, it should equal what? So you step that up and then solve it for x.
Oh.
Okay, what else, Sarah?
Can we do 21?
Is there anything else other than 21, Aaron?
I actually had 11 as another one.
In a plane, how many lines can be drawn perpendicular to BR at point D? What did you guys think for that one? One. There's only one line that can be drawn perpendicular in a plane if you have one line and 1 point that are given to you. Anything else other than 21? Aaron?
15.
15. Oh yeah, I did do that one on the board yesterday, but you weren't here. OH bisects JOK. So that means these two are the same, and they give you one of those. HOK is 5x minus 1. And you know that the whole angle is 9x plus 5. So two of these, 2 times 5x minus 1 will equal 9x plus 5. And then you'd solve that for x. Did you get that, Aaron?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Alright, let's do this proof.
Slightly. I didn't actually solve that.
What? I said, did you get that? You said
thought-
yes.
I thought you were talking about the other one.
Sorry. Alright. So you're given that A, B, C, D, and E, F intersect at X, which you can see all of that from the picture. And angle 1 is congruent to angle 2, and you want to prove that line XC bisects angle AXE. And Morgan, in answer to all of your ramblings earlier, you don't have to have, it doesn't have to be perpendicular to bisect. Bisect just means that it cuts it in half. Were you thinking it would have to be perpendicular?
Yeah, because if it's
No.
perpendicular, then it's like a right angle. I didn't think it could bisect unless we knew that it was like a perpendicular
You
angle.
can bisect any angle. So you could have an acute angle, a bisect, this would bisect this acute angle. And any angle, the bisector means it just cuts it into 2 equal parts. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
I mean, we'll
Helps
still
a
do it,
lot.
but yeah, it doesn't have to be perpendicular. Based on what you were saying, it sounded like you thought it had to be perpendicular. So no, it does not have to be perpendicular. It just has to cut the angle in half. So basically, we need to prove that angle AXC is congruent to angle EXC, and then after we say that, then we can say that it bisects it. So what did you guys start off with? Sarah?
Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2.
Good. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. That is given. Okay. Sarah?
Then angle AXC is congruent to angle 1, and angle CXD is congruent to angle 2.
And you can say those both at the same time because they do have the same reason. Good. Which is what?
Theorem 213.
Theorem 213, or you could also say what? We could say all vertical angles are congruent. Because that's one you're probably going to be using a lot throughout the year. So if you don't remember Theorem 213, you can say, and that's a short one to say, vertical angles are congruent. Morgan?
How do you know that they're congruent? Like,
Because they are vertical angles.
but how do you know that?
Vertical angles are
like diagonal to each other. So anytime you have two angles that are vertical to each other, the diagonal ones across from each other.
Do they have to be equal to be vertical angles?
What do you mean equal?
Like, do they have to have the same measure to be
They
vertical
will.
angles?
Because all vertical angles are congruent. They have to be directly diagonal. Like if you had like a line that was going like this wouldn't be a vertical angle with that. They have to have the same, basically the same two lines are forming them. I don't remember what the exact definition is of a vertical angle, but do you know what I'm saying? Like they
Yeah,
have to
but I
be
think-
directly diagonal and share like the same lines as their rays.
I think that's where I thought that it had to be perpendicular, because I thought they had to be, I thought we like had to like know for sure that they were vertical, which means they were equal. Does that make sense?
Where do we talk about vertical angles? So we can say, so we can talk definition wise. Vertical angles, page
2 angles whose
38.
sides form 2 pairs of opposite rays.
Say that again.
2 angles whose sides form 2 pairs of opposite rays.
Okay. Two angles, two sides form two pairs of opposite rays. So where I was saying a line, so opposite rays generally do make a line. If this is, say, X, those are opposite rays, right? And here's another pair of opposite rays, and those would be the sides of this angle and the sides of this angle, or these would also be vertical angles. So you can look at a picture and tell if they're vertical. You don't need any other mark, like you're thinking like you need some kind of markings or something. You can look at the picture, they tell you all those lines are intersecting at X, and know that those angles are vertical angles, without any other information given to you. Okay? Alright. So now we know that those are congruent to those. Now what do we say? Sarah?
Angle AXC is congruent to angle CXD.
Because of
Theorem 210.
Theorem 210, which is the one that says if that one's saying if two angles are complementary to two congruent angles, then they're congruent to each other. And we're not talking about anything being complementary in this case. Huh?
Could you say substitution principle? Because you just, like you're substituting AXC for angle 1 in the very top. And
Yes, or another thing we could say would be theorem 214, or sorry, 215 is the one for angles. Congruence of angles is reflexive, symmetric, and transitive. This would be transitive. Yeah, I would go ahead and say substitution then, yeah. Because we have these two are congruent, so we're plugging in AXC for angle 1, and then we have these two, so we're plugging in CXC for angle 2. Or you could say, what did I put, 215, this congruence of segment, or of angles is transitive. Okay? Alright, so now that we know, that's what I said we needed to figure out, is that that those two angles are congruent. So if those two angles are congruent, then Sarah?
Line XC bisects angle AX.
Because of
Definition. Oh,
Oh, I was just gonna ask, do you have to have all the givens in there?
Typically I tell you to, but in this case, I mean, if you wanted to say that at the beginning, you could, that AX, B, AX, C and all of that intersect at X, but we don't have to, no, we don't have to say that in this case. I don't really think it's even necessary. Basically, they're just telling you what's in the picture. Sorry, Sarah?
Definition of bisector.
Yeah, definition of a bisector. Very good. So I don't think that was as long as some of you thought it was going to be. Questions? Colby?
Oh, no, oh, yeah, for 2, you don't have to say that they're, like, you don't have to say, that they're vertical because, the angle AXC equals angle 1. And
Like what did you, like you put an extra step that said
Yeah,
like
yeah.
angle AXC and angle 1 are vertical angles?
well, no, I had, FXB and AXE have verticals, because and then I said that AXC and CXE, and then I had the other steps, so I had 2 other extra steps, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that might actually be better in this, it might be better to add an extra step before we say theorem 213. We don't need any information to say, like I was saying to Morgan, to say that they're vertical angles. Like, we don't need any markings or anything in the picture to say that they are, but before we use theorem 213, we might want to say that angle AXC and angle 1 are vertical angles. And then that angle CXE and angle 2 are vertical angles. That would be a little bit more complete, I think, a little bit more logical, and it's because of the definition of vertical angles. That might be a little bit better, actually. An improvement. Okay. Madeline?
I just don't understand how to like come up with the steps. Like I understand like once like the steps go down, like I understand like all the like reasons and I can get those easily. I just can't like figure out like how to put like the steps in order to make sense.
Some people it helps to work backwards. Like in this particular one, that's what I did when I said to myself, okay, if XC bisects angle AXE, I need to, before I can say that, I know I need to say that those 2 angles are congruent. You know which 2 angles I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I looked at the last step and I know before I can say that I need to say that those 2 angles are congruent. And then I look at the information I have, which I have angle 1 and angle 2, and I say, okay, how can I say that those 2 angles are congruent based on the information that I have?
Okay.
So sometimes it's helpful to work backwards. Sometimes I can't see where it's going. I think I've said that before. Sometimes I don't know where I'm going, and I just use the information I start with and just start saying things about it and hope that it leads me in the right direction, honestly. It's a process. I am going to put 1 on your test on Monday. There will be 1 proof that you have to do completely start to finish.
Just 1?
Yeah, there's probably going to be 1 other one that has the statements given and you have to come up with the reasons. I haven't made a test yet, but that's my plan. So probably 2 proofs, 1 will be halfway done for you, 1 you'll have to do on your own. But some of them are easier than others, and I'm not going to throw like a really hard one at you for your first one on the test. Morgan?
Will we have the list of reasons by then?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Sarah?
Will the list of reasons have like what each says? Like
I have started making it, and what I decided to do is basically it's gonna be everything that's already in your book, but it'll just be on one piece of paper, so you don't have to be flipping all the time. And like the postulates and theorems are in the back of your book, but they don't have the definitions like right there with all the other ones. So it's basically gonna be what's in your book, but with like some space in between so that you can take notes as you, or like add things that help you, or you can highlight the ones that you use the most often, or things like that. So yeah, it will have, like I'll say definition of vertical angles and write out all the definition for you. So I'm kind of just taking the information in the book and reorganizing it, so that you guys can have a physical copy in your hand, and then you can use that on all of your tests. And
Have you decided when we're actually going to be having the tests, whether it's on Monday or Tuesday?
right now I'm planning on Monday. Wolfie?
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
We'll be able to use that on the fake sheet thing on
Yes.
our test, right? And then, okay, for my second one, will you count points off if we have extra steps?
No.
Okay.
It's always better to have more than not enough. Okay, so to more practice for tonight, I want you to do the self-test, which is on page 68, numbers 2 through 7 and 9 and 10. And also the chapter review, which is on pages 70 and 71, numbers 1 through 23. We will have a little bit of time to discuss that tomorrow. If I don't feel like it's been enough time, then we'll probably move the test to Tuesday. But right now, I'll plan on it on Monday.
Is this homework due Monday or tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Homework due tomorrow, so you guys can ask the questions that you have on it.
Wait, can I already?
Oh.
Yeah, she changed it yesterday. So what test is Monday? I stressed it out all night. Sorry. Didn't she change it to Monday?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I haven't looked at it yet, so that's good.
We have a vocab thing.
They just said it was changed to Monday.
No, on math, it was changed to Monday.
No, they just say.
Our vocab's
changed to Monday too. You don't have a vocab test.
I was stressed over that last night.
Good for you.
Not funny, Wolfie.
I'm not laughing.
It's so weird.
Somebody's smiling.
So wasn't it me though, so it should all good. I still got like 8 more hours with me. I'm here till 3:45.